All right, excuse me. All right, good evening. I'd like to officially call to order the Tuesday, May 2nd, 2023 meeting of the Bolton Conservation Commission. And pursuant to the amendment of Bill H3548 and Governor Healy signing such amendments into law in March 2023, expressing certain provisions of the open meeting law, this public meeting law of the Town of Bolton Conservation Commission is being conducted via remote participation. No in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted, but the public can access this meeting while in progress by Zoom video communications. Members of the public attending this meeting virtually will be allowed to make comments if they wish to do so during the portion of the hearing designated for public comment by telephone, cell phone, or personal computer using Zoom. And there are always a few guidelines for participants. Please use the chat or raise hand function if you wish to address the board. Everybody will remain on mute until they're actually addressed by the board. And please display your first and last names as your username on Zoom. All of that said, by tradition, we'll start with a roll call of present members. I am Brian Barabee.
Laurie Stevenson.
Bill Payne.
Jim Garrity.
And Rebecca Bachaya.
Excellent. All right. First up this evening, the Bolton Conservation Commission will now open a public hearing under Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, and the Bolton Bylaw, Chapter 233, to consider a notice of intent filed by the Mayflower Council of the Boy Scouts of America concerning numerous projects on their Hudson Road property. Rebecca is the applicant or a representative for the applicant with us here this evening.
Yes, I believe Henry is with us this evening to represent the council. I will note that just before I left the office, I did get a message from him just summarizing the fact that there's some information that they still need to submit to DEP. And so they may be requesting a continuation until the next meeting, but if the representative wanted to give just a brief summary of the proposed project, I think that may be helpful for the next meeting.
No, I think that would be excellent if we could get that if Henry's willing to provide that overview. I think that'd be great. And if we need to schedule like a site visit, we could probably do that too. All right. So Mr. Rauch, if you are comfortable, could you give us a quick overview of the project
Sure.
and what you're looking to do?
Yeah, Mr. Berube, the Boy Scouts, Mayflower Council BSA owns the majority of the shoreline property at Little Pond in Bolton, Mass. We on both sides of the pond, we have waterfront property, and we have swimming, boating, and fishing areas on the sides of the pond. We have young men and women who are age anywhere from 8 to about 18 using the facilities. And there's been an excessive buildup of brush that blocks the sight lines for the lifeguards who manage the waterfront when there are children using the boats, swimming, whatever, on the waterfront. We're looking for permission to trim the brush back so as to make the sight lines visible in all of the areas that the kids actually operate in.
All right. And if my memory is correct, I know we've conditioned stuff like this before, especially with the maintenance and the sight lines around the swimming areas. But as Rebecca was saying, I know you don't have the DEP file number and everything yet, so we're probably going to continue this. That said, would it be possible for us to try to schedule a site visit between now and our next meeting to come out and just to take a look at some of these areas where you're proposing the removal, the trim back, and maybe we can take a look at that drainage swale and some of the things that are coming out.
Yes,
just to get a better idea of everything that we're looking at. Would that make sense to you?
Make a lot of sense to me. It'd be fairly convenient if you're willing to work through Rebecca. Rebecca can work with me to confirm my availability, your availability of the commission to investigate the property in the areas, the considerations.
That's perfect then. All right. So that's it. Do any other members of the commission have any initial questions or comments right now, or do we think this is probably the right approach? And I'm seeing none. Are there any members of the public here tonight that want to comment on this particular hearing? And again, I'm seeing none. All right, so Rebecca, our next meeting is the 16th.
That is correct.
And what's our first open time slot?
I believe it is 7:30.
Okay. In that case, I'm going to make a motion that we continue the public hearing for the Mayflower Council of the Boy Scouts of America's Hudson Road property until our next public hearing, Tuesday, May 16th at 7:30 p.m. Do I hear a second for continuing?
Second.
All those in favor, starting with Lori,
Aye.
Bill,
Aye.
Jim,
Aye.
and Rebecca, I'm an aye as well.
Great. And I will be corresponding with Hank to just figure out site visit dates, and then I'll send out a calendar invite to the commission for that.
That is excellent. Thank you. We have a few minutes. Yeah, let me try this again. Have commission members had a chance to read through the minutes? If so, any changes or edits you would like to see? And if not, does anybody need any more time to read through the minutes from our last meeting? Seeing none, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the minutes for our April 18th, 2023 meeting as drafted and submitted at this evening's meeting.
Second.
All right, all those in favor, starting with Lori,
Aye.
Bill,
Aye.
Jim,
Aye.
and Rebecca. I will abstain from the vote as I was not at that meeting. I was gonna say, yeah, would you want to do one of the updates? We have about 5 minutes before DEP.
Sure. So very quickly, I'll just summarize the trail stewardship days and why that's on here. As just a practice going forward, I want to make sure that projects that have previously been approved by the commission that are ready to go, both as sort of a public outreach component so that scouts and our volunteers and anyone interested in assisting knows when those are coming up and that they have been in fact approved. But then also as we move through the projects, they'll be removed from the agenda. And I'll include the dates as they're scheduled more specifically as well. But I will try at the very least to put the month that we're scheduling it for, and then of course the date when the date is scheduled. And these are trail projects or land stewardship projects on conservation lands throughout town that are owned by the town. Some that are held under a restriction with the trust as well. And these are projects that our local trails committee is aware of also. But so I just want to make sure that the commission stays aware of these projects as we, one, complete them and get excited about completing the projects, but also the ones that are outstanding and opportunities for both the community and us to be completing throughout the year.
Excellent.
I can run through another update if you want.
I was gonna say, yeah, I was
Few more
trying to see
minutes.
which one could be a quick one.
So with the Mass Trails grant, that's the Bolton Trails Connectivity Improvement Project.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
are I'll be in the field flagging those specific areas, but we're working on that. Our budget was approved at town meeting last night, which is excellent. So thank you for those who supported that. As was stated at prior meetings, part of the budget, one of the line items just for this year and then it may obviously decrease again, is specific to the match contribution towards this. So that's what we are waiting for, to be able to start purchasing materials. So we'll be starting to do that within the next couple weeks. And then we have an upcoming trail walk as part of the Summit Series, guided trail walks in May. Typically, they're the last week of May. And this will be to the Rattlesnake Hill Summit. So part of that larger 400-acre rattlesnake conservation property. And the Bolton Trails Committee is going to be meeting next Monday. So I typically like to discuss with them what their suggestion is for a start location, and see if anyone wants to assist with that. And then I will update and put out the flyer for the trail walk. But we encourage anyone who's looking to get out to go on those walks. It's a good way to get out in a navigated way and get comfortable with the property that can be a little confusing.
Thank you. And I think that brings us to the second item on our agenda this evening. The Bolton Conservation Commission will now open a public hearing under Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, and the Bolton Bylaw, Chapter 233, to consider a notice of intent filed by the Department of Public Works for map 4.D parcel 09. Rebecca is a representative from DEP here this evening.
From DPW, yes.
DPW, sorry.
And I apologize for the background noise. My dog's eating behind me. Yes, we have the DPW director present. They did, the applicant's representative, Frank McPartland, had actually reached out to request a continuation, because we did receive the DEP file number, but we got they got some comments with that. One being how DEP does not typically encourage slip lining for these projects. So they wanted to take some time to review and give more information to DEP, or review and update and then provide that information as well to the Conservation Commission. So I don't know if the DPW director has anything to add at this point, aside from they were requesting a continuation for those reasons.
Thank you, Rebecca. No, I have nothing further to add. I think you summarized it very well. Thank you.
All right. And that all, I understand all of that. Do commission members understand or have any initial questions or thoughts, or are comfortable with us continuing for now? Fine. All right. Any members of the public here tonight to comment on this particular hearing? Again, not seeing any. All right. In that case, I'd like to make a motion that we continue the public hearing for the Department of Public Works map 4.D parcel 09 project until our next public meeting, Tuesday, May 16th at 7:45 p.m. Do I hear a second for continuing?
Second.
All those in favor, starting with Lori,
Aye.
Bill,
Aye.
Jim.
Aye.
And Rebecca, I'm an aye as well.
Great, thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
All right, Randy, take care.
Thank you.
Rebecca, do you want to discuss the COC for Hudson Road?
Yes, and that can, excuse me, that can be taken out of order as well. That's why it's not assigned a time.
Yep.
The request for certificate of compliance, the applicant's representative is also here.
I was gonna say, all right,
If I miss anything, but essentially this is associated with the 4042 Hudson Road project that does have a filing before the commission right now. So they have to close out their old order that has since expired. The older order under DEP file number 1120650 was specific to renovations of an installation of a new septic system, in addition to renovations of the existing structure that was on 40 Hudson Road parcel. That work has been completed a few years ago, actually, and it has since expired. It also included the work that is included under the current filing, which is 1120726, associated with reconstruction of another existing structure associated with 42 Hudson Road. I apologize, I may have flip-flopped those addresses.
Yeah.
But the other structure in connection to the septic system that has been built under that prior DEP file number. We were on site for this new filing, but at the same time reviewed some of the aspects under the old filing. In addition, I'd been out many times to the project under 1120650. The site is now stable. There were no significant issues aside from a perceived issue of beaver activity, and I can see why that's perceived as an issue, but no damage to any structures or anything like that. So I certainly don't have an issue with the commission issuing a certificate of compliance for that work. So the commission may issue a invalid, and then state that the remainder of the work is being completed under, and then we'll include the new file number and that's obviously if the commission wishes to permit that. Or they're able to issue a partial, and the reason why I wouldn't encourage the commission to issue a complete isn't because the work that has been done under that isn't complete. The work that had been finished under that it's stable, it's in compliance. However, the full scope was not carried out under that before it expired. And that's where they're filing a new one. So that's what that technical aspect is, and why I wouldn't recommend to the commission to issue a full complete. Does that make sense? I know that was a lot of.
It was, if we were to issue a partial COC, would it be a partial certificate of compliance with, it's not so much an ongoing condition, but would we add something in saying that remaining conditions shall be covered under a new filing, and I guess I would ask you for like good wording on that, or how to actually say, go ahead.
I would suggest exactly that. You can we'll check off when we issue that it's a partial, but then under that section, note explicitly there that the remainder of work is to be completed under a new file number, and then reference that so that it's not that it's partial and needs another COC. It's that it's partial and there's a new filing that it's going to cover the rest.
Okay. All right. So first off, does that make sense to other commission members? Great.
Would it make more sense to hold off, and when we finally issue one, clean it all up at that moment?
Yep. So you can wait until you're done deliberating on the 1120726, so the new filing, but what we can't do is we can't close the new filing without closing the request for COC. So that's not to say it can't happen during the same meeting. It's not to say that we can't table the request for COC until we talk about the other one, the new filing, and get to at least relatively same page conversation or a decision without issuing yet, essentially. And then you would make the request for COC vote, and then you'd make the following vote. And go
Which
ahead,
is
Laura.
the less cumbersome, either to do it now or to hold off for you?
For me, it doesn't matter. It's not a problem either way. I think administratively and making sure that the commission, I think two things that I want to note. One is the commission typically doesn't like to have even a filing until the other one's closed until the other order is closed out. In this case, it's relatively straightforward on what's being proposed and what's not what has yet to be done. So I understand the commission's approach to that. In terms of what's less, what's more friendly administratively, I would say, so that the commission's not making a decision incorporating another new file number before they even come to a conclusion on that other file number, it's probably best to table, discuss the next item, see if there's any issues, if that's going to be continued again or not. And then once the commission comes to an area where they're comfortable with the information that's been provided, they're not requesting new information, then I think we can go back to the request for COC, vote on that, include the reference to the new DEP file number, and then make that decision. And not that I think the commission has raised any significant issues yet with the new filing, but it just keeps you out of the corner that you may put yourself in. Does that make sense, Lori?
So you're saying hold on. Once we're good with the next one, close it and then make the next step. So,
Yep. So once we're good with the new one,
right, close it. Then
go
that's what
back, close the COC.
and that's
and
what I was
then-
thinking too.
Yeah.
Wait until everything is all said and done, close it, and then go to the next step.
Yeah, and the point of that, just for clarity for anyone in the audience, which I think we only have the applicant, is just so that we can properly reference versus not the commission not being confident about the reference or what they're issuing a decision on yet with the new one, referencing it in the old, and there being some issues with that. Does that make sense too?
Yeah, nothing's wrong with the old one. It's just that it's more flow.
That's fine.
All right. And that makes perfect sense to me. It seems like everybody's relatively comfortable with that, just judging by head nods. Jack, does that make sense to you?
Oh, yeah, without a doubt.
Okay. All right, and the obligatory, are there any members of the public here tonight to comment on specifically on the COC, not necessarily the notice of intent? And again,
It's just us for now.
seeing none. All right, in that case, we will table this discussion for the next approximately 3 minutes until we can start discussing Hudson Road. Rebecca, is there another one of our lovely updates that we could probably knock off in about 3 minutes?
Sure. So the Vaughn Hill reroute request, the Bolton Conservation Trust representatives, myself, and the Bolton Trails Committee reviewed a steep compacted area at Vaughn Hill Conservation Area. I apologize, I didn't bring up the map or put it in our packet tonight, but this was something that was actually on an agenda previously, but we are waiting for some Bolton Trails Committee members to get out and just review it. The proposed route change isn't significant. All it's doing is changing from a straight path down slope to add a switchback, followed by some restoration of that existing straight down pathway where the switchback does not cross over. And the reason for that is not only erosion, the steepness and difficulty of the terrain there, but also the compaction of the soil is causing more washout and sediment migration at the bottom of that slope, where in the past we haven't had that problem. So that is the proposal. I'm happy to provide a map to the commission again, just so that if you want to go out and take a look, it should still be flagged. We did flag the switchback, but we just feel that it's going to allow us to restore some of those compacted areas and also reduce the migration of material that's getting down not in the resource area, but it's getting close. So we'd like to reduce it before it impacts that area.
That all makes good sense to me. I was gonna say, any commission members have any questions about the work going on at Vaughan Hill right now, or the proposed work at Vaughan Hill? Yeah, did not think so. All right, we are just about at that time.
So you would be comfortable if we did the reroute, or do you want to?
I was
Review
gonna
it.
say, I personally, I was gonna say, let me try that again. Would you like a roll call vote on doing,
That would be
okay,
helpful.
I was gonna say, to say the proposed trail maintenance, it sounded fine to me. So that said, any members of the commission have any questions and or comments about that reroute? All right, in that case, I'd like to have a roll call vote to approve the proposed reroute of the Vaughan Hill Trail as proposed and discussed at this evening's meeting. An I vote being yes, you are in favor of the proposed work / reroute. All right, so all those in favor, please say aye, starting with Lori,
Aye.
Bill,
Aye.
Jim,
Aye.
and Rebecca. I'm an aye as well.
Thank you.
All right. So all that said, the Bolton Conservation Commission will now continue the public hearing under Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, and the Bolton Bylaw, Chapter 233, considering a notice of intent for 40 Hudson Road, map 4.D, parcel 09, DEP file number 112-0726. Rebecca, do we have an update? Were we able to do a site visit for this? I was not able to do a site visit for this, but I have been out to the property in the past. And I'm not sure, Rebecca, if yourself or any of the members who went on the site visit would like to give a quick update.
Sure. So when we went out on the site visit, and I did add some additional information to your meeting packets, we noted some of the beaver activity. We noted Jack Maloney, the applicant's representative, was present, property owners, along with Paul and Jim were in attendance at the site visit. And we identified the areas where the structure that's going to be reconstructed is going to connect to the septic that was replaced previously, that the adjacent structure that was built under the old order is connected to already. So there won't be a separate system. It'll be connected into an existing system that was recently installed. The structure itself has some concrete footings, but it's really just dirt underneath. There is somewhat of a foundation, but not much. The new proposal was proposing helical piles, so not really a significant change there. The one thing I will add that, Brian, you had actually brought up, I think at the first meeting that this was presented at, is the front portion of the structure. It is roofed, it is completely enclosed, but it does come off with the perception of being sort of a covered seasoned porch area versus part of the structure itself, but it is certainly part of the structure. There was beaver activity along the pond bank or edge, and there was one tree that they're proposing to remove that was of, I think it's over 20-inch diameter, if I'm not mistaken, or around 20 inches in diameter. And that had a massive crack through it and damage to it. It's significant lean. The entirety of the canopy is essentially over the pond, and it doesn't seem to be structurally sound for much longer, but trees sometimes hold on. So, but I will say there's a significant lean. There's a lot of weight on one side of the canopy, and there is a lot of damage to the trunk. and it's rotted on the inside because of that damage as well. And the representative had taken images and made sure that was documented and sent to DEP. The property owner as well at the site visit had mentioned that, because I had brought up about the fact that Beavers had done some maintenance essentially for the homeowner in terms of maintaining their view shed, where in the past we went and it was completely grown in. It is clear that it was beaver gnaw marks. It's not anyone cutting it. And the property owner had basically asked if they could be maintaining what was already done naturally. And so I had suggested that they submit their maintenance plan or comments. So they have done so, and that was in your meeting packet. So I would encourage the commission to review that as well and make comments on it so that we can incorporate that if the commission so chooses regarding maintenance that they may be allowed to do under the order. The other, so that was from the site visit. One change that I want to mention that isn't a change in terms of scope, but it is a change in terms of the new information that's been provided. Again, it's not a difference in scope. I had asked for clarification on what had been provided previously, specific to the square footage of a landing, a small landing for a small stairway that's coming out of the proposed structure, and just incorporating that, because that, when I was comparing what exists today, square footage versus what's proposed, that was really the only thing that stood out. That was a change in the existing footprint. So that was something that Jack did provide, and I appreciate that he did that. So that was also included in the packet, just expressing what that difference is, whether the commission wants to incorporate it or to request that it be changed. But just so that we had that information, since it is a difference from that original footprint.
Thank you. Any commission members who were out there have any additional comments or questions? Any? Rebecca, where do we stand with this? I take your point to, you know, in any of the information we've received since then, we should kind of roll into the existing this actual order of conditions. Where is there more things we're waiting for? I'm like, I'm seeing the plans before. I kind of want to look through their maintenance plan. That's one thing. I did see that you had sent it. I really have not dug into it, but other than that, I didn't have any questions really regarding the project itself. And I'm just curious if other commission members had any questions or comments, anything they wanted to see added and or changed. Okay, so not seeing any. And let me ask too, any members of the public here tonight to comment on this particular hearing? And again, not seeing any. Okay. So Rebecca, what do you think would be best and work easiest for us? And again, I'll put this out to Jack afterwards. Is it best to continue, put all this stuff together? I mean, I can give you comments on the maintenance plan. I would like to look through it a little bit. And again, that's on me. I really did not dig into it. But kind of continue it, put it all together, and then hopefully just close it out next time. See if commission members have any additional questions, comments, or anything. And kind of go that route. Would that make the most sense? Or do you think it's something we can try to condition, put everything in and close tonight, depending?
I think you have the option of your first statement there, and then I think you have the option of closing tonight and voting at the next meeting.
Yeah.
That would give you the ability, if there are no significant issues, that would give you potentially the ability to close out that COC. Or you can also leave that open until you vote, you're ready to vote and you're comfortable with the conditions at the next meeting. But I would agree, if you have not had time to look at the maintenance items, I think that's important, because I would like to give the property owner that concrete
Yes.
portion of in order, so that they're confident going forward that they're maintaining their property appropriately and that they're not going to be in violation of anything. That would be my thoughts, but I'd be curious if other commission members have thoughts.
And I'll put it out to the commission members. And does that make sense to individuals?
Yep, that makes sense.
All right, and then I'll put it out to you, Jack. Would that work for you to continue it to next meeting and then hopefully close it out? Just basically let us put it all together. Would you kind of prefer we close it tonight and we will probably end up voting on it next meeting?
Well, I guess my hands are kind of tied if you haven't reviewed the material, so I'd rather have you feel comfortable as to what's going on. Personally, I haven't seen the Loring's maintenance plan operation. I think that went right to Rebecca and that was about it. So I don't know what's in it. I have no, comments on any of it either way. So it's really up to what you guys want to do. So.
All right. In that case, if you're fine, we'd usually prefer just to leave it open. That way, if there aren't any last minute questions, comments, we can get them on the record. If you're all right with continuing until our next meeting.
Yeah, which is when, Rebecca?
It is the 16th, and our next time slot, I believe, is 8 o'clock, Brian.
That's what I have.
I'm sorry, 16th? Thank you.
May
8 o'clock.
16th.
All right. So all that said, and I'm confident, seeing how we did not have really in-depth questions with how it's kind of structured right now, that if we wanted to close out the COC tonight, I don't know if that would make your life easier, Rebecca, for us just to close that out tonight as you're drawing up the one for next time, but I don't see a reason to not keep that open now. I mean, I guess we could have further discussion, but I wouldn't mind also closing that out tonight, just to at least let the applicants know that that part is closed out.
I don't have a significant preference either way.
Okay. Any commission members feel strongly either way? All right. In that case, I'm going to make a motion. First of all, I'm going to make a motion that we continue the public hearing make a motion that we continue the public hearing for 40 Hudson Road DEP file number 112-0726 until our next public meeting, Tuesday, May 16th at 8 p.m. Do I hear a second for continuing?
Second.
All right, all those in favor, starting with Lori,
Aye.
Bill,
Aye.
Jim,
Aye.
and Rebecca, I'm an aye as well.
Okay, thank you.
Right. And then I'm going to make a motion that we issue a partial certificate of compliance for 40 Hudson Road DEP file number 112-0650. Partial with the condition that any ongoing elements of that order are being covered in a new order that has been submitted and being considered. All those in favor of issuing the partial certificate of compliance, please say aye, starting with Lori,
Aye.
Bill,
Aye.
Jim,
Aye.
and Rebecca, I'm an aye as well.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you.
All right, thanks, Jack. Sorry.
So.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
over-
do we have one or two more updates?
We have a couple more, but I'll just run through the easy ones. So
Please.
this Saturday from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m., the Nashua River Communities Resilient Lands Management Project which is our current MVP Action Grant project, which will conclude June 30th. This Saturday, May 6th, we'll be doing site visits from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. With our consultant team, some community members, and some others who have been regularly participating and have interest in what we've been doing, and just gathering some insights on the different properties that we're going to visit in relation to our current project. So I encourage you all to attend if you have time. Our consultant should be sending out the directions and essentially the order of sites that will be going in and associated times. I will forward that to you. That will also be available. So for anyone from the public who's interested, they can reach out, and I'm happy to provide that to them so that they can attend and provide their insights as well. Then we have still the volunteer land steward position is open and available. We have a Conservation Commission seat available. And currently we are still working, and will be doing so for the coming calendar year, or rather until the end of this calendar year, updating the open space and recreation plan that was previously updated in 2017. We had just a brief small display at town meeting last night, but we will have a display at Backyard Bolton. We will also be doing a wildlife photography contest to assist with the town wildlife inventory that will be incorporated as an appendices. Part of that photography contest, the contest component of it is you will have the ability to check an option for being featured within the open space and recreation plan document itself or in town related materials. If you do not check that option, we still would like your photos or even just listed observations on the wildlife scene in town, and we will incorporate that into the inventory list itself. But we do welcome photos because we do know that we have a lot of great wildlife in town, and we have a lot of great photographers or trail cams that pick up these images, and we'd like to be able to share them and give you credit as well. So,
And the best photograph automatically becomes the 7th member of the Conservation Commission.
oh yeah,
They get the
Yep.
open seat. Yes.
Yep.
Which is not really true. So please don't let that stop you from submitting your photographs. Okay. Looks like we are good on time. So the Bolton Conservation Commission will now continue the public hearing under Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, and the Bolton Bylaw, Chapter 233, to consider the notice of intent for 711/713 Main Street. Rebecca, do we have an update on this particular project?
The applicant has requested a continuation until the May 16th meeting. They do have an update that they will be providing the supplemental information by May 11th. So they realized they wouldn't meet the deadline for tonight. So therefore, they will be submitting hopefully by that deadline, and then they will make the May 16th. But they are working on and will be providing that updated information. So that's why they've been requesting continuations to make sure that they have that supplemental information that was requested by both the Conservation Commission and DEP. DEP has also yet to issue their DEP file number until that information is received and complete.
Okay. Any commission members have any comment or question about us continuing this? All right. And Rebecca, I'm probably going to move it to put it at 8:05 because I think the one before should probably go quick. Okay. So in that case, I'm going to make a motion that we continue the public hearing for 711/713 Main Street until our next public meeting, Tuesday, May 16th at 8:05 p.m. Do I hear a second for continuing?
Second,
All those in favor, starting with Lori,
aye.
Bill,
Aye.
Jim,
Aye.
and Rebecca, I'm an aye as well.
Wonderful, thank you.
Do we have any of our updates left? No, we made
The only other update, which we can table it if we run into the time for 1 minute, but I'll give
Yeah.
the intro at least.
Yeah.
The Bolton Conservation Trust has requested, this is in relation to the Tom Denny Nature Camp that the Conservation Commission permits every year at their Bower Springs Conservation Area. The Bolton Conservation Trust representatives for that camp were requesting a replacement of an existing shed with a potentially larger shed structure at the Bower Springs Conservation Area. This is at the location of their camp, I'll say headquarters, basically their meeting location just within the wood line after the first field at Bowers. I had some email correspondence and I had stated, I don't believe that the commission would have a significant issue with replacing within the same footprint, considering it's a temporary structure. The commission only allows this for the camp. They don't allow it on any other property. But I did make a note that the commission may have not necessarily issue with, but they may have questions and may or may not allow in a large shed that is obviously larger in square footage, but again, for a similar use on site during camp. To note, these are sheds that do stay at the camp outside of the camp period as well over the summer. So it stays there year round. So that's another thing too, is it is temporary structure, but it is a structure on town conservation land. So those were my notes expressed to the Bolton Conservation Trust representatives for the camp. I did say I would present it to you all because I didn't feel that it was something that I could authorize or permit because it didn't fall under something that's already been permitted, because they're proposing for the potential for an enlarged structure. So that is why it is on the agenda tonight. And I realize we're a minute over, so we can bump back if you'd like to.
That's all right, because I
Okay.
think 7:50 is getting continued, right? So.
Yeah.
All right. So, well, I would just say, and I'd be curious what everybody else has to think too, but I know we've permitted this before, with the other shed. I think we might have even gone larger than their current shed size, because we might have padded it by a few square feet to say no larger than. I guess it's just a question of how much larger. Within reason, I really don't have an issue with that. And again, it's almost like the footings too. I mean, if it's again just a shed going on top of the ground like the other shed was going on top of the ground, I really don't have many issues with it. It's a good, in my opinion, good use of the town land. We have a good relationship with the trust in general. It is basically getting kids out into our conservation land and actually teaching them a little something about it. But I'm curious if other commission members have thoughts, comments, questions regarding Tom Denny Nature Camp and their shed request.
Yeah, I think it's great, but it'd be nice to know, it's X now going to Y, right? Just so we have a sense of how.
So I do have that information. I was just pulling up the email. Do you want me to just read the email from the
That-
trust?
Depending on how long it is, yeah.
Okay, so the request is to replace one of the sheds we use for camp at Bowers. It is the one talked about the location already, where they have typically had a tent, and I'll bring up the map in a moment that she also sent. The current shed is 8 by 8. I'm hoping to get a shed donated by Lowe's or Home Depot or similar due to price. Excuse me, I'm trying to skim this too. It has to be a shed on site that they're willing to part with, which usually means they can take what they can get. So they want to know what options they have. Their initial talks with these individuals are telling them that there are possible sheds, but they could be any measurement such as 8 by 8, 7 by 10, 8 by 10, 7 by 9, 6 by 10, etc. And they are bigger but they're only going to accept ones in the size ranges that are close to what is there. Can you please run by the board and let me know if I will proceed, if I can proceed asking for the replacement shed?
Um, I think all those
So that is
sizes.
the
basically-
range of
I
sizes.
was
So
gonna
the
say, I think all
largest
those
seems to
su-
be,
I'm
Yeah.
wondering if we could say something like, if it's anything bigger than 12 by 12, come back, or 10 by 10, come back to us. But other than that, you're fine to approve it. Does that make sense to commission members? Is there a,
Yeah, that makes sense.
all right, so I get, even if we say 12 by 12, Rebecca, just to give them some extra room and say anything bigger than that, let us know, but anything under that, it's fine.
okay, so the commission is authorizing shed replacement, preferably the same size, but no larger than 12 by 12.
140 square feet, it's 12 by 12, right? That's 144 square feet.
Yeah.
So that way, if the dimension's a little, whatever, rectangular, it's fine.
All right, and I will just bring up this map quick. So in the yellow here, you can see, so Flanagan Road parking area is here. Here's your first field area, the main trail, and where they're proposing it's just within the wood line to the left slightly.
And we recently had a Boy Scout project to, help
Yep.
stabilize runoff in that area as well.
Yes. And I believe that scout is waiting until camp or just before, just after to conduct that work, because I believe they're a counselor as well, or a counselor in training.
Oh, nice.
So I
So
think their hope is to try and coordinate some of that group as well to assist
part of
with
the
the
project.
project.
Very nice. Right. All right. No, I think that's all perfectly fine. Right. So that said, do you want to scroll back to South Bolton Road, right? Okay, in this case, the Bolton Conservation Commission will now continue the public hearing under Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, and the Bolton Bylaw, Chapter 233, to consider a notice of intent for South Bolton Road, DEP file number 112-0720. Rebecca, do we have an update?
The update is they have had the MIPA review process meeting, for lack of a better way of naming that. I did sit in on it. The comments have not been released as of yet. I anticipate that they will be by the next meeting. And then from there, we hope to have a little bit more insights from them on their project. But I anticipate next meeting, we will have the applicant present, we will have additional information, and we'll also have the MIPA review report.
Excellent. All right, in that case, unless I hear otherwise from any commission member, I'm going to make a motion that we continue the public hearing for South Bolton Road, DEP file number 112-0720 until our next public hearing, Tuesday, May 16th at 8:15 p.m. Do I hear a second for continuing?
Second.
All those in favor, starting with Lori,
Aye.
Bill,
Aye.
Jim,
Aye.
and Rebecca, I am an aye as well. And looking through, it looks like we've gotten through everything on the agenda.
That is correct.
Any members have any new business they would like to discuss? Seeing none, I'm going to make a motion that we hereby adjourn the Tuesday, May 2nd meeting of the 2023 meeting of the Bolton Conservation Commission. All those in favor of adjourning? Do I hear a second for adjourning, I should say?
Second,
All those in favor, starting with Lori,
aye.
Bill,
Aye.
Jim,
Aye.
and Rebecca, I'm an I as well. Thank you all, and thank you, Rebecca.
Thank you.
night.
Have a great evening.
Good night.